Welcome to Above the Garage.
Hi, friends. Welcome to our discussion of The Veil, episode 5. Let's do our round of introductions and dive in.
Hi, I'm Raquel.
Hi, I'm Kimberly.
Hi, I'm Diana.
And I'm Kate. All right, so episode 5. It's a rainy day in Paris when we pick up episode 5, and Amir gives up on his cigarette before pinning a red carnation to his jacket and looking at his watch in a manner that's clearly expressing he's waiting for someone who may be running late. Red carnations mean deep love and affection, by the way, if we needed any more evidence for how deeply he feels for Adilah.
Can I just shout out to Plant ID because I took a photo on my phone of the screen and the plant was identified. So congratulations, Plant ID.
Nice. I can't believe you couldn't recognize a red carnation.
I wouldn't be able to either.
Really?
Now that you said it, like that sounds like carnation, but
Like I only could recognize, like, without checking, probably like roses, carnations, and daisies or something stupidly not many. Interesting. Well, I guess there's just a lot more carnation use here. He has a magical way of being on land or sea, depending on where he wants to be.
yep.
We'll discuss that later, but yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All right. Meanwhile, as we predicted in the last episode, the most amazing spy in the world is passed out drunk at the absolute worst time possible. It is very frustrating for me. There's no excuse for her getting drunk at this point in the mission. It annoyed me so much. But anyway, Imogen's asleep on her desk, face smashed on her top secret documents, gun in hand, while Adilah sneaks out to meet a man in a stairwell. Same guy who accepted a light from Amir last episode, I think. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah,
And to all the countries surveilling this apartment, the man appeared to be a delivery man, bringing in a bag for delivery. Inside the stairwell, though, he and Adilah trade his bike jacket and helmet, and she gives him a sweet little thank you pat before heading out and hopping on his motorcycle off to wherever she pleases. The world is her oyster at this point. She's officially lost everyone. Imogen comes to with a headache, and pretty quickly, with her spy decence, feels something is off. Confirmed when she races to Adilah's empty bedroom. She starts talking openly to the surveillance in the apartment. Tells him the target has somehow gone. The word somehow here killed me, since it's very easy to understand exactly how the subject escaped her drunken slumber. But I'll try and let that go.
Somehow the target's gone.
Yeah, the use of the word somehow.
Got really like upset about your personal things, which coincidentally you find out about it now.
Right. Like 18 things. Don't read the file right now if you really can't control your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
There's no excuse for getting obliterated in that fashion, even if somebody had just died. If this is your job and you're like the best spy
It
in the
hasn't
world.
though. That's the thing. Like it's been years, clearly. I think.
I know.
Why is it coming up, and what is she finding out about it now? I'm sure she would have had the way of like getting this information prior to this. That she seems to have so like many connections.
Right, but I think that the idea is we're only working for the Americans in this situation so that she could get this intel. But still, if you're unable to manage your emotions to that degree, you don't open it for a few days until the explosion.
You might not be as good of a spy as everybody's
right. You got to compartmentalize. And like also you could have had like a drink or two versus getting obliterated, you know? Mm-hmm. It also annoys me that they don't show an accurate hangover or like slow reflexes for the rest of the day.
I love how she afterwards she's like on the phone to
Malik.
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, I'm somewhat decent at my job. I was like, I do. Because that's even funnier because it's like, this is your fault. This is just getting angry at everybody. It's like, this is you. This wasn't you. You won't go with that.
It's frustrating for me. Like super frustrating. She doesn't blame herself, it seems. And I'm sure she does, and it's defense mechanism, whatever. But like literally saying things like I'm good at my job during this morning, it's like too much for me. Meanwhile, in Max's hotel room, apparently we are to believe that Caesar has made an appearance, judging from the horrible smell that remains in the room now. I'm also a bit surprised they would send him into operational situations, considering this other absurd stereotype. Why did they include this particular stereotype? Or I don't even know if it's a stereotype, but why include that he's like...
It is a stereotype, really, because isn't he supposed to be? He's supposed to be like really smart, and he's like a nerd, right? And they just kind of
computer guy lives in his basement, doesn't care, doesn't shower.
Yeah,
it certainly doesn't add anything to the storyline.
Right, and I don't understand why it's so heavy on the stereotypes. Then
yeah, it is strange.
Max's phone rings and he's caught up on the news of Imogen's utter failure and also the failure of $10 million worth of surveillance equipment. And that's just from America. But all the failures here were very human. Imogen, obvious, and then also the operatives watching the place. Surely someone has used the delivery man tactic before in their experience or studies, you'd think.
I couldn't believe how much it would cost, $10 million just for that.
It's interesting though, because it happens twice, like with the bin man.
Later in the day.
Like, really?
Malik, also fresh off a night of drinking, judging from the empty wine bottle featured on his patio, but maybe responsible drinking, picks up Imogen's call. Imogen tells Malik that she knows what Adilah is wearing because she's taken the clothes from her closet, which she has good inventory of in her brain, so at least they know what she's wearing out in the wild if they can spot her, unless she changes. Malik tells her it had to be the delivery man, so Imogen goes out to find him, spots the cleaner, and warns everyone to give her 5 minutes alone with him, but also to send backup. She runs into the cleaner to steal his phone. He had to have known that something happened there, considering the woman he knows is a spy accidentally bumped into him. She waits for him outside the door and then shows him the phone that she stole. While she's convincing him to tell her where Adilah went, the phone rings. The moment of truth. Is she going to talk him into telling her? And then he gets spooked by some loud, obnoxious Americans, and he takes off. I very rarely get offended by any American stereotypes because Americans often suck. But I really hope that our intel community is not this clumsy and stupid. I'm officially offended on behalf of the American intelligence community. I refuse to believe that they are this over-the-top bad at their jobs.
I think obviously there is, like we do see Americans being a bit like, you know, in your face, wanting to do things how they want to do it and how they see it. But this is really showing them just to be absolute shit. I mean, have they not seen Homeland?
I know. I mean, they're just so idiotic, like screaming like, stop right there when he was stopped. And she was talking to him. And like, I find you can approach quietly on the street and tell me that's annoying. And they did that, but they're not going to scream like idiot policemen that have never
because it also gives the person opportunity to run.
You're literally announcing run, basically. And then like, but there are certain parts of it, the stereotype that I buy and previously didn't bother me and don't now, like Americans trying to take the case. Sure, I get that. I believe that. I believe Americans and obnoxiously be like, we're better than you, we'll take it. It's all so over the top that it's just a lot. After a long foot chase where Imogen eventually gets the upper hand, she's about to maybe get an answer out of him when, of course, he gets shot by the Americans. And they didn't shoot him in the leg, which I've previously talked about. I'm a big proponent of shooting people in the leg. Nobody ever does it. So I was glad that Imogen at least made note of that. And they killed him, so she can't get any information. There's a lot of her like saying, I'm good. I had him.
When did she actually have him?
Yeah.
Not the first time, like maybe the second time.
Her gut was telling her by his eyes that he was going to tell her. I believe is what she's saying.
Same
as she says with Adilah. Yeah. No, but she said she had him both times.
Well, yeah. She had him maybe once. I noted that he said it's not what you think, and I'm not really sure what that was supposed to mean.
Yeah, that was intriguing. I'd like to know what that means.
We will find out maybe in the last episode that there may be something that we're missing. That's kind of what I understood, or maybe, I don't know, because he's in touch with Adilah, right? That's as far as we know.
Yeah.
Oh, so he changed the accent doing it the first time.
Did he?
Yeah, it was when she took the phone. He spoke and she asked like, "Where are you from?" And he made an accent like, and she said, "Are you Polish or something?" And then at the end, when he had him at gunpoint, I don't know how to say that. He spoke like an American accent or something like that.
Oh, interesting. Good catch. Good observation. Yeah, I was also intrigued that he said that. So hopefully we learn more.
One thing I did like about this scene was the chase. I liked watching the chase through the streets of Paris, I guess, and I thought that was filmed really well.
Yeah, I love seeing both Turkey previously and Paris. That's one of my favorite parts of the show. Yeah, definitely the production value of the whole show is very, very good. Yeah, it's beautiful. Adilah meets up with Amir at a cafe so that Amir could tell her that everyone thinks she's flipped and she's informing for the British. Quite dangerous. Even Amir has to ask. She swears her loyalty to the cause and he wants to believe her, but he tells her they will kill Yasmina while she watches if they doubt her. She's got to kill Imogen to prove her loyalty. Adilah very obviously doesn't want to do that, which she even tells him. She'll bring her there, but she begs him to find somebody else to do it. And then I think Amir proposes to her. He wants to marry her before he blows himself up in a few days, or actually before she blows him up. He gives her the detonator and proclaims how happy he is she will have this honor. As the police are descending and Adilah slips out of the cafe. I don't know what the word is, but did he say they were going to meet someone to marry them that night?
I couldn't understand what he said, by the way. Like, I had to rewind about 4 times. All I got was like, all will be dust and bones. I want us to be wed, to be one in the eyes of God.
I'm confused though, because he's like obviously on the boat next and she's off doing her thing. So maybe I just made all that up.
But then they don't know. So
Right, he's on the boat, so they didn't get married.
maybe like they will be together when they like both bomb themselves.
Yeah, obviously that's his plan.
He did say all will be dust and bones, so I don't know if he means them.
I think he said I will be. I will be dust and bones.
I will be dust and bones. Okay.
Yeah. They do seem to love each other very much like Imogen and Malik seem to love each other very much, so.
I don't know if I got the vibe that she loved him, to be honest.
No?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you get the same sort of vibe of both relationships. Like you almost feel like women are more in control.
Right.
That is true, yeah. The relationship seems to be more like one-sided. It's both with the males, actually.
Or the woman, right.
Although I do think it seems like Imogen does like Malik, but
yeah, I mean, I didn't think that for a few episodes. I thought she was playing him, but yeah, since the bridge, I was like, all right, she likes him.
Yeah, this must be the man, obviously, that Adilah said like in one of the first or second episodes where she's like
one bad man.
Yeah, so I'm guessing this is him, right?
I would guess so.
Do you think this is Jasmina's father?
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. Doesn't sound like
I don't get that vibe. He doesn't seem that like as protective of Yasmina. He's more protecting Yasmina only because he cares about Adilah, is my impression.
Yeah, that's what it
Happy
feels
to like sacrifice her as well, right? She said that.
Yeah, and he's not doing like that great of a job either. He's like, they're going to torture her in front of you. It's not like he's rushing off to hide Yasmina, you know? I don't know. If it was your daughter, I think you would do more.
So I'm guessing the phone and the chip that he gives her is the explosive.
Yeah, he says that's the detonator, actually.
The detonator. Okay, yeah.
So I'm surprised if he's doubting her like at all at this point that he would risk giving her that. Especially even with the British like woman on top of her the way she is. You'd think they'd find someone else to detonate the bomb. But that's a personal thing, I guess, between him and her. He wants her to do it.
Yeah. Because I actually wrote down that I didn't think he was believing her when she asked Amir to get a different person to kill her. And he just gives her a bit of a funny look. And I thought at that point he wasn't trusting her to like carry on the operation.
Right, but then he gives her the detonator.
Yeah.
I don't know, for some reason they say that she's the only one who can detonate that. I got that. I don't know why. But why are they so protective of her? Like, you know?
Yeah.
Well, he said you're the only one that could come up with this. So she came up with the plan, it seems. But I would still, at this point, shift knowing that that everybody's so on top of her.
Again, it seems so like coincidental because the way we've watched the show, it seemed like Imogen found her purposely.
Yeah,
It didn't seem to be the opposite way around.
Right.
Whereas now, from Amir's point of view, we're getting that this was all Adilah's plan.
Yeah.
Not seen that.
I really hope episode 6 like tells us why Adilah was actually in that camp to begin with. Otherwise, like it's not really going to make sense at all to me. Anyway.
Yeah, same. I don't get that either.
Why was she there in the first place? She's in ISIS. Why the hell is she in a refuge? Like it just seems like like it has to be a coincidence, right? It has to be.
Would it be like she's more accessible to the British intelligence, like Imogen? Is that why she was there?
I guess the only thing, like my theory that we'll get to later on, is that they're actually bombing London and never were bombing the US because.
But they seem to be very close. That was one of my notes because we kind of calculated these on like episode 3 when they were still in Bulgaria, and we said it was like 7 days away.
Right.
I didn't think that it's been that long, and now they're saying that they're gonna get to New York or like the East Coast.
Well, and they just picked Amir up in France, so they cannot get to the US. So the only thing I can think is she was planted to mislead them about the location of the bombing. I'm not sure that it's going to make sense, but I hope it does.
You know, like the cleaner that was said, "Oh, this is not what you think," or the fact that it will make sense if Imogen's been misled, because it seems like that's not happening.
Right. The police have surrounded the bike Adilah used to get there, and Max starts to approach the scene before another agent stops him and reminds him they're not even supposed to know any of this except for their illegal surveillance. Max talks some more shit about the French intel community. Actually, I will also be offended on the French intel community's behalf. I'm quite sure they work more than a 30-hour work week when they need to. They're really heavy on the stereotypes here. Anyway, though, Max is furious and promises to break some fucking bones and some rules while he's at it as he takes his colleague's advice and walks away from the scene. Malik calls Imogen, who steps like 2 steps out of the apartment, and proclaims she's outside of the surveillance. I think I'd go a little further. But anyway, Malik tells Imogen that Cesar's bugging of Max's apartment has paid off. They learned of a high-level emergency meeting today. He fears they're trying to take this away from the French. Which I thought we already knew that. I thought that was pretty well established. I thought he even like announced it on video in the streets of France a few episodes ago. But anyway, Imogen insists on coming into the French headquarters to watch the American meeting that the French are spying on. I guess she never goes into the office because she's a DGSE secret. Best kept secret, she says, but she's willing to blow that up instead of wait for Malik's update. In said meeting, Max blames everything on the French security services and more specifically Imogen. He acknowledges she's gifted in gaining the trust of targets, but that she's unpredictable, erratic, and also sleeping with Malik. Apparently this is a negative. Magritte, Malik's boss, is shocked to find that the Americans are trying to take the case away. Like I said, I'd buy that stereotype. But in this case, though, also it's America that's supposed to be attacked, so I think it's also reasonable that America takes over it. And this is where I'm really confused about the timeline. Unless weeks have passed that we're not aware of, how can they attack America in the next 2 days? Max says it will be in the next 2 days on one of 3 ports, either New York, Savannah, or the Port of Virginia. But Amir is still in Paris this morning, and he's supposed to be on that boat. So their intel or something is very wrong. The French intercepted a more useful call in the last episode that specifically said the boat was leaving from Marseille, right? But then Malik only shared that information with Imogen, so I guess I can't remember if she told Max, but maybe the Americans don't know about that call still. Either way, the French know everything. The French know that the boat that's supposed to detonate is leaving Marseille in 2 days, and they know that it cannot get to America.
How do they know, but they don't know which boat it is? Where they're getting these intelligence from? I was very confused about the whole thing. Because it seems like they got loads of information about it, and they're very specific information, but then they were like, oh, it could be any shape, and how are we going to find out? Because there's like billions of ships that are going to those ports.
Dock, yeah. I don't know. You don't know where the Americans get their intel, I think.
I think, well, what the thing about the boat was because the guy, you know, the computer guy, put the device near a place where they talked, and Emir talked to the guy, the delivery man guy.
The Scottish guy.
Yeah, and they had a conversation about the boat, and then they got that recording.
Right. Oh, because the Americans were spying on the French, so they could hear everything the French heard, right? Because the French were like, Malik was like, don't tell America, I'll tell Imogen, and that'll fix everything. And Magritte said, like, you have tonight. So
is that all they know? Because they don't know about a specific boat, right? They know that a boat is going to leave.
A boat, yes, and go to the east coast of America.
Can they trust this information? Because that's the thing. Like, we guessing that maybe they know where they're actually going.
They can't be going to America.
It's physically impossible.
Physically impossible with unless it's like some kind of time jump that we don't know about and hasn't been on screen. Because
it maybe would make sense. Because how is Amir in a boat where he was like in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, clearly, because he's just 2 days away from America.
But he was in a coffee shop this morning.
He just can't. He can't be there, and he can't be there unless he's got.
So there's clearly a jump we've not seen.
It doesn't make sense because he seems to be jumping on and off the boat, right? He's like there, and then he's not, and then he's there, and then he's not. So like he can't be like halfway in the middle of the ocean and then helicopter back to Paris and then go back again.
I can accept that he docked in Paris or a surrounding city.
Oh yeah, I can get that, but
I can accept that. And then now he gets back on the boat, but the boat cannot get to America in 2 days. So, and it's still confusing the way it's filmed, that he's just without any explanation or seeing him get off the boat or on the boat. He's just on it and off it, you know.
We know that they filmed in London. We have no idea if anything was filmed in America. I mean, you could probably CGI that, I guess. So you wouldn't know, but the attack could happen in London. I mean, that would make sense, but then again, like the coincidences of like Imogen and Adilah ending up there, and it all being, I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah. I respect that as a plot twist, like, oh well, we weren't expecting this. Like it'd be cool if there's a reason why. Because then like timeline wise, it would make more sense if they're closer to London and the attack is somewhere closer in Europe than America.
Right. So it's irritating me though that like this is very easy for us to say, but the entire intel communities of France and America cannot, like, France has all this information that we have at the very least, if America does not. So they should know a boat can't get from Marseille to the US in 2 days.
I think they might have just not shown us a scene of, because Magritte, the head French
boss,
guy, he wanted to tell the Americans obviously, and he gave Malik the night. So the night didn't happen. So surely maybe we just missed the scene that the French boss told the American people.
Well, in that case, they're all idiots. They all should know that they cannot get from Marseille to the US in 2 days. But they're not mentioning that. Nobody. Not one of them.
Maybe they've invented teleportation, and that's going to
I mean, if this turns sci-fi, that will make sense. Yeah.
You never know. Never know.
Anyway, we also learn in this call that Max wants to kidnap Yasmina to get the intel out of Adilah. He's sure that at this point there are no other options.
Well, they did that earlier, right? He's already kidnapped her once.
Yeah.
Well, for 5 seconds, like a 5-second kidnapping.
It reminded me in this episode when she stole the guy's phone in the hotel or apartment building, how easy it would have been for them to steal Yasmina's hair without anyone knowing, rather than throwing her into a van and stealing her for 90 seconds. I mean, what are you guys' opinions on how immoral it would be to kidnap Yasmina if the alternative is thousands of deaths, including many children? Were you horrified at the prospects? I was not.
No, me neither. And I think like Imogen and Adilah have that conversation later on, right?
And Imogen ends up doing the same thing. So, but yeah, it makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense to be like outraged by it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, it makes less sense of why Adilah will join this cult, and I suppose to like be kidnapped and be pay for her, whatever she's done, like being paid for the consequences.
Yeah, I certainly get drawing the line at children. You just can't involve children, and that's just the line that you have drawn in your head. But he's given them he's given Imogen a lot of time to figure this out in another way, and now it's just like down to the deadline, and you have to save thousands of people. So I was not outraged at the American
children, probably.
Yeah, a ton of children versus traumatizing one, which sucks, but unfortunately it is her mom's fault and it is the only way,
Yeah, I agree.
But on the topic of her like joining it, even though she has kids, Kimberly sent me like a bunch of interesting articles about women that join, and like there's one American woman who is serving 20 years for being like a monster. But the difference was she wasn't like trying to protect her children. She was like selling her children at 13 to marry terrorists who raped her.
Mm-hmm.
It is harder to juggle this very protective Yasmina mom with an ISIS commander, Like she seems to want her child to live in the West.
Yeah.
And live under Western rules, norms, and freedom. So I don't know.
Like I get her point later on, like, it tend a little bit political and be like, why should you care when it's your children? What about our children? So like I get that.
Yeah, I get the anger.
She's defending her one child against other children, and that's what's political. Like I get your point.
Hypocritical, right? Anyway, so the French won't stand for it, though. Not on their land. They're not going to kidnap a child. Magritte swears nobody will get near her as Imogen walks out.
Can I just confirm? I wrote this down very quickly, but did Max say something really rude about Malik being a French Algerian, the same as Adilah, or was he talking about Adilah?
He said he was a French Algerian, but I don't remember him saying anything rude about it.
Why would he say that though? Why would he say
You're right.
Malik is a French Algerian descent? That's so random.
Right. You're right. She's sleeping with someone of No, you're right. That is just mentioning it at all is.
Yeah, mentioning his background, I was like,
you're trying to maybe undermine him though, as in like, like putting him in the same as maybe Adilah and ISIS.
It's just more stereotypes and
I thought that was very rude.
I agree. Malik follows Imogen and he tries to make her promise she won't do anything with that information, but of course Imogen refuses and points out that she promised Adilah she'd protect her and her child, and she's failed. She doesn't care that she's a monster, she's just got to get her to trust her, and she failed at that too. But she's adamant again that she would have told her, perhaps if she hadn't gotten drunk and let her escape. Adilah's walking by the water, looking quite miserable, and then Imogen is doing the same across the bridge by the Eiffel Tower. But then Adilah seems to come to some sort of conclusion in her head, perhaps, and sets off. When Imogen gets back to her apartment, Max is already inside it, much to her surprise, and he's there to fire her. He actually seems like he's trying to be kind of nice to her about it, I thought. But the facts are the facts, they're running out of time. And they've given her many days to do her thing. Max leaves, says he knows she'll call her if Adilah shows up. Presumably he understands she definitely won't. But he says one more obnoxious American thing before he departs. Everybody works for us, eventually. She does not, in fact, share the fact that she's received a text telling her to meet Adilah at 4 p.m. later that day. Instead, the music tells us she's getting busy. I really like the music. I swear I saw Max Richter in the credits.
Yeah, I think it says themes by
Max Richter.
I don't know, when I listened to him the first time in the first episode, I was like, wait,
Yeah.
that sound. Later I checked the credits, it was Max Richter.
Yeah, that's so cool. So that's why I like the music so much.
Yeah, he's amazing. I don't know if people know about him, but he probably his best composition was on the Nature of Daylight. I don't know if you have heard about that song.
It's so beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it has been in a lot of productions.
Yeah, it was just in Last of Us, very emotional episode of Last of Us, episode 3, I think.
Yeah,
and then it was in
episode 3.
409 of Handmaid's Tale. It's such a beautiful song.
It's amazing. And Lizzie made a video. He was the protagonist of the video. So people should definitely watch that. It's amazing.
It's so beautiful.
I love that one. It's a masterpiece.
Same. So I was excited to see his name pop up. And I also have really liked the music. So it all makes sense. Max Richter for the win.
Yeah.
So to the music, we see, presumably on Imogen's orders, a couple Frenchmen telling Yasmina and her daughter to get into 2 trash cans and see them carted out to a trash truck. Again, I'm disappointed in the surveillance agents for not catching on to ploys like this, especially after this morning.
Seriously. Come on.
It's terrible, yeah. I mean, the ADR, it's the same, basically. It's like, ooh, look, there's motion, there's movement. And they're like, oh no, it's scheduled. It's a delivery man or it's a trash man.
Surely that's grounds for like a firing. Come on.
Everyone in this whole community that is involved in this show needs to be fired.
Yeah, true.
Defake and tell people, every one of them. I wouldn't keep a single one, seriously.
Apart from Cesar, who I know he smells, but he seems to get the job done, you know?
He is good at his job, but I would not send him into apartments to plant bugs. There's I can't remember what podcast it was, but there's another podcast that does like TV shows, and one of the questions they ask at the end was like, they do it in a clever way. Basically, they ask in a funny way, like the person that's worst at their job in the show, and it'd be very hard to choose in this one. Anyway, Imogen finds Adilah looking miserable outside of what is presumably her grandfather's apartment. Indeed it is. She tells Imogen this is the truth of her, who she was before everything. I really love her acting. I just want to say that one more time. Yumna Marwan, I absolutely think she's a fantastic actress. I love her.
I thought that as well. In this scene and then in the one at the gas station later on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My favorite thing probably about this show is actually discovering her because I think she's great.
Yeah, agreed. She's fantastic. Hope we see lots more of her. Imogen gets straight to the point. The Americans are going to kidnap Yasmina. Imogen can save them, but only Imogen. Yasmina's in tears listening to Imogen, telling her there's no scenario where she can be with Yasmina except if she trusts Imogen. Imogen spies the man that's been sent to kill her around this time, who flips his blade out and starts walking towards her. But Imogen pulls the gun on Adilah, staying his hand. This guy gets back in the car with Amir and reports back to Amir what happened, who assures him that Adilah will succeed, and also to report back to their people that she has the detonator. Is that how you understood the conversation?
Yeah.
This is another person that is incredibly bad at their job who needs an award. It's the dude with the knife. I'm going to take this knife out meters away from you where there's so many people that can see
just
me.
stare at you very instantly.
I'm not even going to get close to you. like rah, stab, like no, he needs to get fired.
No. Everyone in the show has to be fired immediately, except the trash guys.
Who do we think the trust people were, though?
I think they were sent by Imogen, but I don't know why she has access
Oh,
to
yeah, that's what I was
magical
going to say. Like,
people, because it wasn't through the French, because they didn't know why
Oh,
she
yeah,
disappeared,
true.
or at least Magritte didn't. So she's got her own cast of spies that just work for her.
Hmm.
I guess. Did anyone else have a different impression?
No, that's what I thought. But yeah, again, that didn't make sense to me. Or how
I
she...
kind of expected that at least Magritte would have been in on it because he wanted that same goal, you know. So I figured she'd asked him to do it, but no, he doesn't know what's up later. Max's colleague now tells him that the girl Yasmina is gone and that she's been extracted, and he immediately knows it's Imogen. Oh, he's drinking too. So much drinking of these spies. Apparently it's Malik's birthday, and his family's throwing him a surprise party. Adorable. They're all very cute and happy to see him. But of course his phone rings to update him that Yasmina's disappeared. Magritte doesn't want to know if it was Imogen, but he wants them to redeem themselves by finding out how it happened. And then Amir's back in his military uniform, back on the boat as he checks in on the bomb briefly and then joins the bridge on the ship. The bridge is the navigation room, right?
I think so. I think we've talked about how the ship and where the ship and when the
Right.
ship and
Enough.
all that type of stuff. So I won't like confuse myself even more.
And also, we've again discussed on how, don't know, I feel like their conversation when they're outside Adilah's granddad's place is just, again, more like how similar they are. We haven't talked about how she's bringing her daughter again. I don't know, the discussion that they have about, oh, you know, the only person that's lost their daughter.
Right.
They've not talked about that before, have they?
No. Mostly, I think all that comes out at the gas station. I mean, they yell at each other a lot about the daughters.
Again, it just seems like the whole show is about how similar their experiences are.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you guys think that the people on the ship are aware of what's going on? Or just Amir?
Yeah, I don't know. My initial thought would be no, they don't. But
Yeah.
I think that many people, you could kind of ruin a plan, right? Because there's just
Right.
so many of them. So I don't
Two
know.
can keep a
Might-
secret if one of them is dead.
Yes, exactly.
I also didn't think Emir was going to go through with it. I think he was more like the captain and then he was going to abandon the ship when he got to that point. But it seems like he is planning on killing
I
himself
think
with it.
there's that like pride and, you know, martyrdom in this. Yeah, and in a big confrontation, Adilah and Imogen are at a gas station. Imogen assures Adilah that Yasmina is on her way to England, but Imogen now pulls the exact same thing everyone was horrified the Americans were going to do. Threatens her with her daughter for the intel on the ship. She won't tell her where her daughter is unless she tells her what's about to happen. The only difference is Adilah is a little bit less confined and tortured for this conversation. I do kind of enjoy Imogen's explosion concerning Adilah being a terrible mom. Being a terrorist fails you immediately, I should think. And she repeatedly points out that Adilah acts like she's the only mom in the world who's been separated from her daughter, the only person with a shitty life, and yet most don't become terrorists and plan an attack to kill thousands of people. She screams at her she's nothing to her except a woman with a child who's choosing to throw all of that away. Adilah maintains Imogen's life has been easy and full of choices, and Adilah's has been void of said choices. Does it make her feel good to be the daring white heroine saving the world from evil monsters like her? Adilah's angry that the West ignores the suffering of her people. They only care when it happens to their people. And Imogen asks if she really thinks that what she's planning will solve this. Adilah just responds that they're the same, the two of them, because if killing thousands of people would bring her father back, or her mother, or her baby, then Imogen would do exactly the same thing, and that terrifies her.
I wasn't sure about that line because what is she saying? Is she saying that the reason she's blowing up thousands of people is to get something back?
Perhaps they threaten Yasmina because she's messed up the original suicide bombing, but Yasmina wasn't alive then, so no.
No, I think they were just giving a reason why she joined ISIS, right? Like she's fighting for a better future for
For her daughter. Her people.
not so much for the daughter, but more like her people. I presume that's what they're going with. And again, that's probably pretty stereotypical, like Islamic terrorist, or like the way the reason why she was radicalized. Is that the word you would use?
Yeah.
I think that's what they're trying to say. Like, you know, we've been asking about why she would join them and what reason she had, and I think that just made it political. That's the reason why she's doing what she's doing. she probably does believe in the cause, right?
Yeah, but she doesn't have her daughter living in that manner, so it's confusing to me. I don't know.
I don't know if that's her choice though. Like, is it because she wants to free her people, and then if that happens, she will be able to like.
Right.
The lot of like racism against Muslims and Islam in France specifically, and that's a big issue. I suppose that's why they based it there, and I think that's kind of like what Marx was implying with Amir being probably Islamic and from Syria. Like he was probably saying more like, well, why would we trust you when part of them? I think that's what I got from it.
Yeah, I agree. It makes sense. Yeah, I think that's the reason why she joined, but later she like realized that they were doing really bad stuff, and then that's why she's so conflict about it. And now she's doing it because she only wants her daughter to be safe, I guess.
Right.
Because at the end, the Imogen says something like that. They ask her about if she would do it just because of all those reasons. How they have treated her people, or just because of her daughter.
Right. Yeah. I was surprised that Imogen doesn't reply. No, I wouldn't do that. So I guess she
would do it. That's
agree. Yeah.
Again, goes back to how similar both of them are.
It's interesting though, also because I know that a lot of women who did let's just say flee Western France to join ISIS, and they marry and then they have a kid, and then I know when I think it was, I'm not entirely sure what year, but it could have been 2020 approximately, like a lot of them wanted to come back home, and the government were trying to work out if to let them back in for fear of maybe
they're bringing themselves into the other countries.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With Adilah, like she seems to be this huge, she's the genie of Raqqa, right? She must have done some horrible things.
I still feel like at this point, the way she was selling that, whereas before I had more like what Diana's saying, that you kind of feel like maybe she was regretting her choices, but like this sort of conversation, like this sort of argument that they had, I almost feel like maybe she is still part of, because I know we're all thinking that she's using or both sides to like get her daughter to safety, but I don't know if she's still believing in the plan.
Yeah, she doesn't seem religious. We haven't seen signs that she's a believer in the religious side of all of that. So
I know someone said on the last episode that Yumna's acting is really good actually, because I can't work out where it's gonna go. Like, is she actually wanting to go through with this? Is she not?
Right.
I still, to this point, I don't know. Like, I feel like we could read Imogen's
perception of her,
or better in a better way than we do with Adilah, and that's probably due to the actress playing it really well.
Imogen, after not denying it, just lets a few tears drop and walks back to her car, starts it, and peels off. But then she stops, remembering herself laying in that bed, Michael asking if she can remember her face, and she decides again to go back for Adilah. She gets out and confronts her again, this time about trying to kill her earlier. She still thinks she's not a monster, and that Adilah's going to get in that car with her. But the episode ends before we find out her choice, though I think we know it. You guys think she's going to get in the car? Else she'll be stranded at a random gas station forever.
She has to get in the car, right? Or the story's kind of, I don't know, over.
Right.
Hurry up and get in the car.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully it's action-packed. I feel like I was hoping for Lizzie to be more like fighty, more combat, because she said she trained like really hard in that.
I was gonna say, like, when she broke her back, it could possibly be that they couldn't do as many.
Yeah, maybe it limited her future. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, because if they kept filming other scenes, then it's like, well, I'm still healing. I'm not gonna risk, getting injured.
Not worth it.
Yeah.
In a recent interview, he said that she also injured her rib.
Oh, in the same scene or later?
No, later, and she didn't say anything, so they didn't stop filming.
She's very hardcore.
Yeah.
I got a question, guys, for you. Because I think the whole thing about the relationship with them is the mother's connection they have.
Right.
They say that this line, the best lies are the ones that are the mostly true. I think the true behind all this kind of trust they have is that they are mothers. But the reaction that Imogen has is like she's very critical of Adilah's decision of letting the girl behind and that stuff. I don't know if you have any theory about what happened to Imogen's daughter.
My impression before was simply that like probably something she couldn't help happened and her daughter died. And as a result, it just like extra angers her to see anybody wasting the opportunity to be a mom by leaving their child or risking it in any way. But somehow like her actions of the past 5 episodes have caused me to wonder if she had something to do with her daughter dying. Like her own, not on purpose, but by fucking up.
Wondered like maybe like her career, she might be investing somewhere else and she wasn't there for the daughter and something happened again. As you said, probably nothing to do with her, but she seems to carry a lot of guilt in a way, whether she actually had something to do with it or not. She definitely feels responsible for it.
There's also that comment earlier in the episode that briefly made me wonder if it had something to do with Imogen when the guy was like, it's not the first time we've done this, like used a child. But I think it was probably just an unrelated comment. I don't know. What do you think, Deanna?
Yeah, I was thinking of something about it, like maybe she had the opportunity to leave her career behind and she didn't do it, and that's why her daughter died, and now she's trying to like blame, or I don't know, put that on Adilah's conscience, or I don't know, like she sees herself in Adilah,
Right. I do think her character likes to blame exterior people for things that maybe she secretly knows like she's guilty for or whatever, but I think we've seen a fair bit of that. Yeah, I don't know. We better learn what happened to the daughter in the next episode.
Really hope we do. What do you think of the relationship with like Michael? Do we think that was
really bad?
Consented?
Like he took advantage of. He was her guardian when she was 16.
And then again, that kind of made me think if he had something to do with it, because the way he like keeps saying to that, like it seems like he's blaming her every time that she has that same flashback of.
He's not being kind, I don't think, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And he's still alive, I guess. Like I kind of assumed he was dead somehow, but she said to.
Really hope he appears in episode 6.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. That he'd actually be in it.
Yeah, I mean, to book an actor that is pretty well known, there has to be some kind of.
You would think.
Acting to be done.
Right. Just like the little flashbacks. Yeah, it doesn't seem like he'd want to do it for that. Yeah, so I also have been hoping, because in the last episode she said, do you see him? And she said, no, not really. So unless that was referring to her flashbacks, I assume it meant he was alive and she can't see him. Anyway, I don't know. We'll see. She got the apartment.
It's definitely going to be hard to bring it all together.
I think that's what we say in every. Oh, I didn't say penultimate once in this whole thing. That makes me sad. No. I feel like every penultimate episode conversation, we're always like, it's going to be hard to wrap it all up in the next episode. But I do feel that here. But it should get exciting at least. Action, I would think. I guess that's a wrap on our discussion of the penultimate episode of The Veil. Come back next week for our discussion of the finale. Thanks for listening.
Bye.